Hey everyone, this is Isaac. I'm CEO at Trullion, and today on AI Accounting Intelligence, we'll be talking with real people about real things related to AI and the impact on the accounting industry. Stay tuned. All right, I'm excited to be here with Mike Manalac. Did I get it right?
You got it right first time.
Mike and I, we've been pen pals online. We got to hang out at the AI CPA in Vegas last week. It wasn't in one of those clubs or the strip. It was on the convention floor, which is still pretty cool. But we had a good time, and before this we started recording, Mike was just saying, "Let's have some fun." So let's have some fun. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Isaac. Thank you for having me. I know that the last time we chatted, we had a good conversation, and I've been a big fan of like some of the pod episodes that you've had going. So, super excited to be able to join you and the Trullion crowd here.
Amazing. So this is the Accounting Intelligence Show. We've done probably a couple dozen of these, and I'm excited to welcome Mike Manalac, Mike from accounting, to the show. But before I'll just tell everyone who's listening or who's watching, Mike is what I would call an influencer, an accounting influencer. Got your own voice, your own style. That's awesome. It's MikeFromAccounting.com. And Mike does cartoons about accounting. We're gonna jump into that stuff later. But before we do, I mean, Mike, like what tell us the story. Like how did you get, like where are we talking from? And how do we get to this day?
Yeah. Again, thanks for the quick intro. But I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, East Coast of the U.S. Grew up there, then moved to the West Coast. Was living in San Francisco for a while, commuting down to Silicon Valley for about 4 years, and then I moved to Chicago. So I've kind of done the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest thing. So I'm in Chicago now, with my wife and my 3-year-old. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm dialing in from here. I imagine a lot of your audience will resonate with maybe some of my path, but kind of coming through the public accounting ranks through to industry and Fortune 500. So happy to dive into any of that, whatever you think is most interesting to maybe the audience.
Well, I mean, let's do it. You covered the whole, breadth of America. I'm from Texas, and I went to New York, so I went south to north. You kind of went east
There you
west, and
go.
then
Yeah.
compromise. But yeah, I mean, kind of how'd you get started? Maybe even dial it back. Did you fall in love with accounting as a child, or stumble into it, university, and then from there?
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those lost pups in college where I didn't know what wanted to major in, but I was actually pretty good at accounting, not that it was like calling me, but I felt a lot of other people were struggling with accounting and it somehow clicked. And maybe that's kind of when I figured, hey, maybe I'm a numbers guy, and I can do something in that field. And so that's kind of what brought me into accounting. I took a more traditional path that I think a lot of people, that are listening will relate to. But I started out at a small firm at an internship, under 50-person firm. From there, realized I wanted something bigger, moved into a top 20 firm with a firm named Cohn Resnick. And then from there, went a little bigger to Big Four, where spent some time with PwC. That's about a decade there where I was on the audit side of the house and, enjoyed it, but also was very much interested in working for the clients, not necessarily auditing the clients, maybe kind of moving in house. So I wanted to go for, I kind of had this idea, bigger is better. And I looked at the Fortune 500 list, and the top of the list was Walmart. And next thing you know, I'm working on their e-commerce accounting team for Walmart.com. So that was out in San Francisco, just south of San Francisco in San Bruno. Got my feet wet with what's going on in the industry side of things. Really loved e-commerce, but I was also, it's the office was right across the street from the YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, which is a Google company, and I would always look across the street saying, "Oh, it'd be cool to like work over there sometime." And from there, made the move to Google, and that was 7 to 8 years ago. I joined in 2017 as part of the revenue accounting team, is basically supporting Google search and YouTube and some of our display advertisements. And I was based out of the Sunnyvale offices, which is just in that Mountain View headquarters area. And then they opened an office in Chicago maybe 5 years ago, as a headquarters for finance, and they were looking for people to volunteer to kind of get that up and running. So I came over when there was only one other person on my team at the time, and now the team's grown to 20. So we've seen a big ton of growth in Chicago. Not all of them are reporting to me, but I have a chunk of people reporting to me in Chicago, some in LA. So I report to a manager in the Bay Area. So that's sort of been my journey, but it's been a rewarding one, and I feel like I've seen a lot across public accounting and in industry, and really along the way found what I liked, what I didn't like about the accounting profession, and slowly inched my way into more of the stuff that I do like and less of the stuff that I don't like. And that's kind of what brought me here today, and that's why I've been with the company now for 7 to 8 years.
That's awesome. Well, your voice and your kind of vibe is, I think, much appreciated in the accounting industry, and we'll get into that. But I got to drop a few Chicago bombs because I just finished the most recent season of The Bear. Are you watching?
Ooh, only on episode 3, so no
Okay,
spoilers, but
we
God, I love that show.
no spoilers, but just a shout out to everyone because we interview people. A lot of them are in New York or San Francisco or London, but we've got a Chi-Town rep here. Um, the Bear is a great show. It's about a chef in Chicago and his wacky life. But there's so many Chicago isms that are underappreciated. The foodie culture, um, music like Wilco, and I don't think Pearl Jam is in there. Anyway, I remember I went to Lollapalooza back in the day. That was good time.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, like
Back in
Kanye.
your wild days, Isaac.
Yes, yes, yeah. When I had hair and all that good stuff. But anyway, so just a shout out to Chi-Town. Now, Mike, do you feel like you're settled in? I know it's a bigger question, but are you East Coast, West Coast, or right in the middle? Chicago's the your jam now.
I do feel like Chicago is has checks a lot of the boxes for what I want as far as big city amenities like a train system. You can walk everywhere. It's a great downtown, good sports town. It's not too far from my home in Baltimore. And a lot of Fortune 500 companies are located here, so the employment opportunities are really big. And even like the school system, like you can actually raise a family, buy a house, send a kid to school in the city. And there's a lot of cities you can't say a lot of those things. So I really like it for now. Whether I'll be here forever, I doubt it. Forever's a long time. I could actually see myself maybe having like a home base in Chicago and maybe a house, maybe somewhere I can fly to in the winter when things get rough here. I could see that being a cool thing for me in the future. But for now, I'm pretty comfortable. It's a cool city.
That's awesome. I'm a big fan. You know, I'm from Dallas, so all of those things resonate with me. You know, center of America, you can get places,
Yeah.
airport. We get too hot in the summer, you get too cold in winter. Yeah, we could split the difference, but that's awesome. Okay, got it. So Walmart and Google, that's not just Fortune 500, that's like Fortune 5 or like Fortune, it's up
Maybe
there. It's
50,
up
I
there.
guess. Yeah. Yeah.
It's up there. I mean, those are world class companies and organization. Full disclosure at Trullion, where I work, we work with Walmart and their accounting team. And you know, you think of Walmart as a stodgy old brick and mortar retailer. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
These guys, these teams, they know what they're doing. They're innovative. They support small businesses and startup like us and big ones
Hmm.
alike. So maybe, I mean, tell us a little bit about the, I don't know, interesting or I don't know, cool things about being on the accounting team at Walmart versus Google. What's the vibes?
I mean, well, first of all, I think you hit the nail on the head, which, when people think Walmart, most people just think about the brick and mortar store and their experience there as if, I'm a greeter in the store. Plenty of those around. That's not what the corporate accounting side is like. It's interesting though. It is working on the e-commerce side. So basically, Walmart.com is similar to Walmart in that it offers everything. And it's things that are in stock at stores, in stock that are in warehouses, things from third party marketplaces. You can buy photos, you can buy checkbooks, like all the stuff that you would never think like even exists anymore. So there's all these revenue streams, all kind of big expenses, hopefully a big nice check getting cut to Trullion every month too for the partnership there. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, I really wanted to get into working with big data. You know, the bigger clients have tons of data, and let's face it, the way the world is moving, data isn't getting smaller. Like it's getting bigger, bigger, bigger. And I felt like Walmart was one of those places where I could get, exposure to tons of different revenue transactions, tons on the expense side, a lot from the working through cutting through data and doing different things with coding and SQL and different workbooks and things like that. So as far as like the cool projects I worked on, probably my most favorite was spinning out the first iteration of Walmart's 2-day shipping initiative. So they basically were, you know, trying to get market share from Amazon before they gobbled it all up, essentially. And Walmart, when I had joined, had invested, I think, 2 billion in growing the e-commerce business, and that included like growing the e-commerce accounting team as well. And they really put their foot forward. We had like 5 acquisitions in the few years that I was there, buying other e-commerce startups, and we really wanted to go toe to toe and match Amazon with the 2-day shipping, and not just say, hey, I can ship it to your door in 2 days, but say, you could go pick it up in the store today. I could ship it to your house in 2 days. Or, a bunch of different variations that think returns and things like that. You can take it back to the store. Things that like leveraging that online footprint and the brick and mortar footprint. So it was a very cool time, but for the most part, Walmart is and is still, but it was traditionally brick and mortar. So the shift to e-commerce was a pretty big shift. But I got to spin that up, and that meant like getting subscription revenue was new for Walmart, getting subscriptions to what they had called Shipping Pass at the time. It's been rebranded, I think, 3 or 4 times now. But kind of spinning that up and being able to talk to execs and higher ups about, hey, this is what happens when you give a free trial. Just because there's a lot of users doesn't mean there's a lot of revenue. And just because there's a lot of people paying you, a lot of that revenue for subscriptions is deferred. So don't expect to see that hit your revenue the way that maybe you think. And that was a new concept for the company. So it got a lot of attention from all the right people. So that was probably one of my favorite projects to work on. But man, there was so many things moving super fast. And at one point we had acquired Jet.com, which was an
Oh yeah,
e-commerce company on the other
New
side of
Jersey
the
or New York.
and yeah,
Yeah,
Hoboken, yeah, the other side of the
Hoboken.
river in from New York, yeah. And they came in and were running the show, basically taking the reins for the e-commerce team. So we were like moving like a startup with the pocketbook of a Fortune 1 company. And what a crazy experience that was. So I have nothing but good things to say there. And top talent, like I was working with people from Amazon and Nike, and they all came from the big four. For some reason, they were all from EY, and the accounting team, it just happened that way. So yeah, it was a ton of fun. And to get back to your question about how that's a little different at Google, leaving e-commerce to a business that's driven by ads was quite different. Walmart actually does have some ads products. Like if you're flipping through
Oh
the
yeah,
electronics page and you look to the side and you see a Samsung ad, Walmart's cashing in on that. So I
totally.
wasn't I wasn't like new to ads as far as when I moved over to Google, but you know, Google's a beast when it comes to ads. It's the number one game in town in the online advertising business. So big learning curve there, but I'd say similarities where I continued to work with like really top talent. What I thought was probably the most different was that a lot of the accounting team was was able to like write scripts and run workflows, and everybody kind of knew SQL, whereas I kind of came from a Excel only background, which is probably a lot of people in the accounting game, right? So that was the first time seeing people writing SQL code on the accounting teams, and it really opened my eyes to, wow, I can actually do some automation, like homemade automation. And I've been nonstop doing that with myself and my team for the last 7 years, and that's been really fun. But Google has a lot of unique characteristics as to how they look at developing people, how they push people, the openness to creative ideas and challenging the status quo. That, not that I didn't see that at Walmart, but a lot of what I see at Google, I have a feeling is unmatched in some of those areas. And yeah, so I couldn't be more happier with both of those choices. But Google really offers a lot that somebody like me who wants to do more creative things and also do the accounting stuff, I don't want to be locked in a back room. I want to be working with cross-functional teams in different departments and things like that. I get all of that at Google, so I think that's a really cool thing that comes from working at one of these big corporations. You're working with all these really talented people, and there's incredibly interesting projects going on all the time.
That's awesome. Because I feel like sometimes, from the outside, it's like, oh, corporate account, like almost like it's like the C word, but if you think about it, what you just talked about at Walmart, they launched something, you guys launched something that you could explain to your wife or your friend or someone at a cocktail party. So it's like tangible. And they had to do this thing from a front office perspective, but the accounting, the back office had to be aligned by launch time. So I don't think people get to be involved in like these big launches, these big initiatives that drive massive, massive outcomes for the companies. That's pretty cool. You mentioned
Hmm.
Amazon, which you're right. A lot of people don't realize Amazon has one of the biggest advertising businesses in the world. And I'm sure Walmart,
Yeah.
is a subset. They obviously have more brick and mortar, but I just think that's interesting. We at Trullion, where we've traditionally been an AWS shop, confession. Sorry, I love Google. My sister worked at Google. She worked for GCP during,
Oh,
the
okay. Yeah,
the
yeah.
early rising days. I got a lot of friends in Mountain View, but we went AWS the beginning of Trullion, and then when we started working with Walmart, they said, well, what do you guys host it on? We said, Amazon. They said, no, you're not. Like, what? So,
Whoa.
so we,
Yeah.
we, we, we did spin out a Microsoft Azure instance. By the way, we got to do a Google instance. It just so
Yeah.
happens you guys are also in the cloud business, but it was just funny to see that fierce rivalry between Walmart and AWS or
Oh,
Amazon.
yeah.
It was like no chance. And I know the same thing happens with Google. Like if we were to work with Google, they would be like, no, you're not running on Azure, or whatever the heck it is. So it's funny how somehow, the retailers and the hyperscalers overlap. But that's awesome.
Yep.
So I think what's cool to me is Mike from accounting. By the way, is that just to explain to everyone, that's your hashtag. I'm sorry, that's your handle, Mike from accounting, correct?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you got a website which we'll get into. Is it an alter ego or is it you?
Ooh. Alter ego sounds alter ego sounds really cool, but no, I mean it was an easy to, I thought it was kind of fun, an easy to remember way to have a website. And
Yeah.
I used to work, I was mentioning working with a lot of different teams, and sometimes you'll hear somebody be like, "Oh, can you get back to Mike from accounting on that one issue?" And I don't know, I thought it was kind of funny, so I kind of went with that. But essentially it's my website about like the stuff that I put out there, but alter ego maybe sounds cooler, like a Jekyll and Hyde thing maybe could be going on.
It's amazing. I just wanted to have a little fun with it because I think it's brilliant. And by the way, I'm looking at No Flux Given. Is that your book or a podcast?
Yeah, that's a playbook I put out. It's all about it's about helping accountants land their dream job, and I kind of chronicle some of the things that I learned going from the East Coast, West Coast to Midwest, and I had interviewed at Amazon and was fortunate to receive an offer. Interviewed at Meta
Right.
and X and Tesla and Nike and Salesforce and Uber. And a lot of people in accounting don't really even think about, oh, I guess people at those companies need accountants, and they all do, And I applied for those jobs. I went on these interviews. I could tell they were all really cool, and most of them turned out where I didn't get the job, right? And that was part of a lot of the learning that I put into that playbook. But I was fortunate to eventually hit a stride and learn some things along the way and get multiple offers. That's where that playbook came from. And I was just getting a lot of questions of like, hey, any advice? And it's like, well, where do I start kind of thing. And over time, I had a doc I was sharing with friends that would ask, and I just turned that doc, added some fun pictures to it, and formalized it a little bit, and put it out as an ebook on my website. So that's where
It's
that came from.
it's awesome. So I'm giving you a shout out again, Mike from accounting.com. And we're gonna unpack some of this stuff because I love it. But before we do, I'm thinking of the accountant right now, the corporate accountant. Maybe they're at the Big Four, whatever they are, and they've got a voice. They think they're a little funny, or maybe their friends think they're funny. They want to express themselves, but I feel like there's a little bit of fear, or maybe a little bit of something's holding you back, self-conscious, whatever it is. In my job, I've got to be, I'm a founder and I'm a CEO, and I have imposter syndrome, but I also recognize that I have a role to play, and I'm encouraged to post on LinkedIn about whatever I think, and I'm encouraged to do these podcasts and stuff like that. And I feel very fortunate, to get have kind of the fun. But I feel like founders' voices are a little bit overrepresented, and entrepreneurs especially in tech, are streaming really loud and noticed and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people, I think, who have a lot of interesting voices out there. And so I hope people listen to you and hear from you. You don't have to be a CEO or the highest partner or CFO or whatever. And hopefully you will one day, whatever you want to be. But when you think of like Mike from accounting, does working at Google or Walmart or whatever it is hold you back? Do they encourage it? How do you just kind of lean in and take that step and start putting some of your good humor, out in the air, right? On the intraweb? How do you jump in?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point, and part of it is it's an overrepresented voice from founders and entrepreneurs. Great stuff, but sometimes if say you're just starting in public accounting and you're looking to hear from other people, it's a little intimidating to only hear from the founder who just got like a $5 million seed funding type thing. You know what I mean? And yeah, exactly. But you don't hear enough about, there's other people that are not that are still doing cool things, and you don't hear about it. But why don't you hear about it? So that's sort of why I said, I'll jump in and share some of my thoughts, because I kind of got a little annoyed with the fact that it was an underrepresented voice, and then two, a lot of what you hear about accounting is it's boring and accountants are boring, and you know this and that, and some people are correcting the narrative, but I think everybody should take it upon themselves to do their own part to correct the narrative. And I'm one of those people that I always have an opinion and something to share, and plenty of complaints, don't get me wrong, but I like to follow that up with like a solution or something like that. And I found myself being that person who's saying, oh, like these guys got it all wrong, but then I wasn't out there trying to correct it. So I was doing the same thing that I hate, which is complaining about a problem and not offering solutions and things like that. So that's what got me involved, and I think a lot of other people should maybe look at it that way. Like, you don't necessarily need to be a founder, but you probably have thoughts and opinions to share, and there are going to be people that want to hear from you. So for the people that are intimidated, I think on the flip side, at one point I thought, because I'm not really on social media outside of like LinkedIn stuff that I feel like could benefit me in my career, but you won't find me on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, which I feel like I've benefited from that. And it wasn't until AI was really ramping up, layoffs were happening in all industries, that I realized that, there's really two people out there, and you're either going to be visible, and if you're not visible, then you're invisible. And a lot of people that you're talking about that have not came out and shared their thoughts or opinions, they're, they're going to be invisible, and that's not a good thing. And one day there's going to be AI is going to transform the industry. Outsourcing is going to transform the industry, and it's going to get hyper competitive. I'd even say it's already hyper competitive. And do you want to be in the bucket of people that are visible and are sharing your thoughts and opinions with the world? Or do you want to be in the bucket of people that you never have heard from? So I almost feel like you can't not do it. By not doing it, if you think you're being safe by playing it safe and kind of laying low, I think you're actually doing yourself a disservice. So not only should you do it just for the fact that you have ideas to share, get out and share them. Why not? I think you should do it because it's gonna get super competitive, and if you want to be the one who's got that great job for the rest of your career, and not the one on the flip side who's really struggling to stand out, then you got to take the path of being visible and not invisible. I don't know if any of that makes sense to
I
you,
love
but
it. No, I love it. And it's a bit of a warm, fuzzy feeling in this fear, this dark, kind of gray cloud of AI and automation and outsourcing. I mean, we've all felt it. I started my career as a travel agent. So that was like right before something called Expedia and Kayak, just blew up. And by the way, Google Flights bought ITA inventory. So that was another, it just like, I lived through this stuff, and we still have travel agents, and also a lot of my friends love travel and they work at tech companies that start off as agents. So I've seen a couple of these iterations, but the warm fuzzy feeling is this idea that you're saying, Mike, of hey, things are going to change and you need to stand out beyond just whatever it is. I don't know, that financial close that you do, or that
mm-hmm.
revenue testing that you do, whatever it is that you do, you need to stand up. And so hopefully that change pushes people not just to upskill. I think that's the thing that's thrown around is upskill, 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 which is cool. New skills. We should all learn new skills. Hopefully we shouldn't come from a place of fear. We should come from a place of curiosity. But this idea of finding a voice is interesting. Like if you want to stand out, it's not just about the accounting skills you have. It's about bring your voice to the forefront. And I think
Yeah.
that would be cool. There might be a point where there's if people hear this, Mike, there's going to be all these accounting influencers and all the tech entrepreneurs are going to be like, what the hell? We used to be the cool, but that'll be a fun day. So I was kind of thinking one of the hard things I think about post I'll use just posting on LinkedIn, because that's really the start. Is you post something, you post a video, you post a thought. I've posted something so many times and I've gone back an hour later and I got like 3 likes and I just deleted it. I was just like, oh, nobody, ugh, this is so stupid. Nobody, like, do you feel like ever self-conscious that you're trying to self-promote or sell yourself? I think a lot of people struggle with that. And then maybe another thought is like, do you think of it more as I'm putting out this information to help other people? I'm putting out this information because it feels good to me. It's like journaling. Like how do you
Mm-hmm.
think about this idea of, I don't know, self-promotion or putting that stuff out there?
Yeah, and that's where I kind of made a face when you mentioned an influencer, right? Because sure, there's plenty of accounting influencers. I personally don't consider myself one, mainly from there's a cringe factor that comes with that, and
Yeah.
from where people think, hey, look at me, look at my rich lifestyle and my vacations, and by the way, buy this sponsored product because I like it and you should like it too. But that's actually different than what most people that you're actually, a lot of people that you're seeing on LinkedIn, or at least what we're talking about, which is not really trying to like push some other company's products, right? And be all flashy for the likes. For the most part, I'm really just sharing my thoughts, my opinions, kind of doing it my way in a way that I don't find cringe. And does it suck when you only get 3 likes? Yeah. But at the end of the day, are you doing it so you can get a bunch of likes and become an influencer? Because if not, which I'm not, then I got to just say, well, who cares, you know?
Do you
And but
delete?
LinkedIn's
Do you delete? Do you go back?
uh
You don't have to answer that.
I've only deleted 2 posts, both of which people had commented that it was semi controversial.
Ooh,
And
ooh. Can
I
you
know,
come on,
and I
drop
don't think
one? Give me
I
one. Give me yours.
it was well, I'll tell you, I don't think it was that bad, and I
Yeah.
feel like I did the right thing,
I'll
but
give
it
you a
was
snap judgment.
okay. Well, you won't see it anyway because it's deleted. So even if you go to
Right.
find it, but it was a cartoon of a guy, and it said, "Look at that form on accounting," and it had a guy going like this, checking out a form of a female figure, but it wasn't a female figure. Inside the female figure was just a bunch of tax return lines. So it was like, check out
I
that
like that.
form.
I like
I
that.
thought it was funny. A lot of people thought it was funny, and one person was like, "That makes me uncomfortable." And I was like, "Well, maybe I should have been more sensitive." I like to think that I'm sensitive, have enough emotional intelligence to not do that. So it's a learning thing. But no, I don't delete it. I wouldn't delete it because it doesn't perform well or anything like that. But I think that's part of the process, you know. And like I was saying, like the drawings that I'll put out, I'm not really that's not really self promotion. I like to draw for fun, and I found a way to include that in to touch on like accounting topics. Like I read a lot. I'll read an article about some accounting update or some accounting news, and a funny image will pop into my head, and that's what I'll draw and put out there. So for me, I'm already reading the article. I already like to draw. I'm just sharing it. I'm not saying, "Hey, people from New Yorker, come get me to like cartoon for your magazine or come buy my stuff." Like I'm not doing any of that. So I actually don't do a lot of I don't look at it as self-promotion. There's a little bit of yes, this is me, but a lot of it like with the hand-drawn cartoons, that's me just showing that like, hey, I'm a real person. There's an authentic aspect to this. This is not an AI image that you'll see on 99.99.99% of everybody else's post. This is a real thing that a real person drew. So part of it is me understanding that authenticity is going to be at a premium soon. All you look around, it's all AI slop. Everything is AI
Oh, it's
slop. Like
everything. It is everything.
even this podcast, I'm assuming you'll have this out in a video form. A lot of the reason I like doing these things too, one day maybe they'll have the Isaac and Mike avatar that they can make this without it being real. Yeah. But for now, I mean, people want to hear your real voice. They don't want to hear a message that you probably ran through ChatGPT and to come off as an expert. So I think like for me, I don't necessarily look at this as self-promotional because I'm not really promoting anything. I'm just chatting about stuff that my thoughts, my opinions, and like how I feel about the accounting profession and things like that. And that's what's different than somebody who has their own business or is an entrepreneur because you kind of have to do these call to actions
Hmm.
all the time, and that's part of the game. And people don't want to be sold to, you know, people don't want people that are salesy. So you probably run into, you know, you're pretty smooth about it now, or you name drop it a little bit, but you're not really pushing it. Like you have to kind of be slick about it, or you're going to turn people off, right? So that's why you won't see me bragging about, hey, I'm about to go to my third vacation internationally next month. I'm not posting any of that. You don't see pictures of my expensive dinners online, or trying to like show that I'm somebody that's super cool. Like, to be honest, like I didn't come from money. I didn't go to a fancy school. I didn't get referred to any of the companies I came in. I was just a regular guy that kind of worked his way up through the system to get what I wanted. So I hope that that comes across when
I
people
love
see
it.
me is that it's more of the regular guy, not the guy who's trying to make you think that he's a guru or something. you know?
I love it, and I think you captured it. I mean, people need to feel like it's almost like the entrepreneur or the guy selling, or what's Kendall Jenner? Who's the one that sells makeup on Instagram? Something Jenner, or
Yeah, the
one of
youngest Jenner.
one of the
Yeah.
Jenners, right? Like
She's a
I'm
billionaire, so,
that's what I'm
what
saying,
do
but
I know?
I never heard of her when someone was like, "Do you?" She has the most followers. Um, but the regular voice, I don't think you're regular. I think you're exceptional. But the regular voice is underheard and underrepresented. And you're right. We like. I guess when it comes to sales, I think the best they'll happen organically, right? Like even if we're meeting our wife or partner or whatever, there's a little bit of, I'm sure there's a little bit of jockeying and salesmanship that goes in, but
Yep.
you end up coming together and, it's like, oh, good thing we met. And yeah, but the best stuff just comes organically, I think, no matter what. So I love it. You made me think of a website I used to love. It's still around. You ever read Goading Concern?
Oh yeah. Yeah, going
Shout out
concern.
to
They're
Caleb.
nice and snarky. Man, that's
Shout out to
great. I feel like
Caleb.
they don't maybe get as much props as they deserve, to be honest,
Well, it's great. So founded by Caleb Newquist, who's now at Gusto and is a great voice. He has a
I
podcast
didn't know
called
that. Wow.
Oh My Fraud. They love. I think he's with
Oh.
Blake. I think it's just. But anyway,
Oh
um,
yeah.
so he founded Going Concern, and it was really just to bring a little bit of humor to the accounting industry. So it's snarky. I think it's the right level of snark.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they ended up being one of the top jobs board, right? And so it's kind of
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
like, it's kind of that organic idea of like, hey, someone needed to make fun of all this big four saving the world kind of webinars and stuff. And once they captured interest, they were able to help people find jobs, which I thought was pretty cool. A little bit like the
Yeah.
Onion. It's the Onion as far as you could go for accounting, but I think it's owned by
Yeah.
another media company now. Can I run through a few of your cartoons while we're here?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it.
What First of all, what's your favorite? I'm looking at mikefromaccounting.com. I'm
Oh,
looking here's one. Partner by 33, right? Um, like becoming a partner by here's another one, Big Four or Bust. These are cartoons, Big Four or Bust. Um,
I
Hollywood
think
accountants.
that partner by 33 was like a cowboy baby, right? And
Yeah.
I think the big four or bust was like a bunch of balloons popping, I think, right? Yeah,
Oh, this is
these are some really
great.
good ones.
Mr. Owl. Okay, so Mr. Owl says, how many busy seasons do I need to do? Okay, or no, it's an account a CPA talking to Mr. Out on the tree saying, how many more of these busy seasons do I need to do? You got a favorite I could call out or a
Oh
few?
man. I uh to be honest, no, I don't think that I do. I I have some that I think are more fun to draw. A lot of times those are the ones that people don't really like.
You draw
And then
these?
oh yeah, those are all hand
Hell
drawn.
yeah.
Yeah.
You drew this monkey on the monkey bars?
Yeah, yeah.
It said the CPA is a high bar.
Yeah. So stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm saying like I'm having fun with it. The other thing too is
Awesome.
I think trying to find a way to merge maybe your interest outside of work with something your profession. It's like a pretty good way to like find more fulfillment. When you hear people say bring your whole self, that sounds really corny. But I think the premise is look, if you like to kind of draw stuff and you're a CPA, maybe you can merge the two and put out something funny that like Isaac gets a kick out of on the other side of the world. You know what I mean?
Um, I'm loving this. Um, Yeah, there's this notion of work-life balance, and it's kind of like, it's kind of like forces us to think that that's work and that's life, and you got to balance it out. And I think it's okay to admit that we spend a lot of time doing our jobs, and it's okay to intertwine accounting with something we love, like drawing or
Hmm.
something else. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And you mentioned something about our podcast. Like, this is our voice. This is us. This is our personality. No
Yeah.
robots. Take it or leave it. And the way you made it sound was like it could be in a dusty archive one day of two guys talking. and
Yeah,
illustration is kind of like that too, right?
it is.
Illustration
Yeah.
is already there, but someone who can draw some of these cool cartoons are pretty cool. All right, so a few things. I mean, this is AI, accounting intelligence. We got to get into the slop. Actually, we don't even have to talk about AI, but I got to ask you, you've seen both sides, audit and, kind of big accounting. What's your crystal ball look like these days when you think about the future of accounting? Maybe just the next 10 years. Pick a couple areas, and whether it's the people, the skills, the tools, all that stuff. What are you thinking? What are you seeing these days?
Oh man. Dude, you think I know what's gonna look like the world is gonna look like in
I mean,
10 years?
I could talk, but
Yeah,
they shut
I
me
have
up.
some theories. I have some theories. I feel like who knows what next year the world versus
Yeah.
as opposed to the like everything is changing. It's crazy. But
Hmm.
yeah, I got plenty of theories on where I think the accounting world is going. When it comes to 10 years, I think finally you'll start to see like I think the stat is 75% of CPAs are at retirement age. They're just not retiring, right? Like it's expensive out there, and they're making good money, so they're sticking around. But 10 years out, I think they'll be forced to retire. That's going to leave a lot of opportunity for like older millennials like myself, and Gen Z will probably be in middle management plus like and will probably get boosted up there. I think that's when you're going to see a real change in, if anybody thinks there's industry norms across accounting that are and firms that are resistant to change. I think you really need turnover at the top levels and some of the younger generations to move up. So within 10 years, that's definitely going to happen. As far as the AI stuff goes, I think it's going to have, a lot of people will say, is it going to take our jobs or is it going to make us stronger? As if it's like, yeah, you got to choose one. I think it's probably going to be both. It's going to take a lot of entry level jobs, but it's also going to make uh as a pro making everybody more productive to be able to do more and shift into more of this advisory space that accountants have been trying to get into for years, and instead you get this I only hear from the accountant once a year thing. That's not like an advisor, right? So I think that'll definitely help transition accountants into that role. I also feel like, for the most part, the profession still values technical chops, right? Where do you stand on like understanding complex technical accounting topics and things like that? Um, that's going to be commoditized. I mean, anybody who can run is decent at a prompt is going to be able to sound like a subject matter expert. That's why none of the things you'll ever hear me say is about a technical accounting thing. One, that's probably the boring side, the more boring side of the accounting piece. But like two, I know that stuff. I've proven that I know that stuff. That's not going to set me apart because a first year associate who can write a chat GPT prompt can probably spit out something even better than whatever I come up with off the cuff. So I think a lot of the premium that we've placed on technical chops will kind of diminish a little bit, and instead we're going to start to value things like more soft skills, human skills, like can you lead a team, can you lead engaging meetings in a virtual global workforce, multifaceted critical thinking, can you connect dots, do you have the emotional intelligence, do you have the creative thinking, some of those things that really AI isn't going to solve those problems for you, at least not, I don't think, in my lifetime. So finding out like what are the human skills that we can focus on is something that I do a lot of, and that's a lot of what we talked about previously of I'm doing something authentic. This is authentic. You and I having a real conversation, right? Not upload an article and spit it through a podcast generator, Notebook LM to sound like it's two people talking. No, these are really two people talking. I think there will be a premium on that. I think accountants that are only good at the technical stuff, but not having the soft skills and the creativity that I think the future generation of accountants need. I think it's going to be a big shift in the type of skill sets that are desired for accountants. Um, I also think the education system always lags. So you said 10 years, but I bet you it'll be 5 years. Let's say in 5 years, the accounting profession has figured out this is what we need accountants to do and how they work with AI and what value they add in addition to AI. It's going to take the education system 5 years from that to start to implement it, which means there's going to be a chunk of the workforce that's coming in learning the old way of accounting, and they're joining a workforce that's the new way of accounting. And I have a feeling that that's going to be some rough waters there. And I don't hear that talked about all that much. And then lastly, I'll kind of say, as much as we don't want to admit it, I think there's going to be a lot of phonies in the accounting space that maybe got through college, got good marks. Maybe people think they're an excellent communicator in written form. Then you ask them to give a presentation to an exec and they fall flat because they don't have AI as the crutch. And really, they didn't have the right skills, inherent skills, because they basically outsourced all of their creative thinking. And I think there's studies that show like if you outsource too much of that critical thinking to AI, you actually experience a cognitive decline. So I think there's going to be a lot of people that take that as a shortcut and then get burned down their line. Whereas I think most of the people who are thinking about it right are using these AI tools to be more productive, to use it as a collaborator, to be more efficient for the things that aren't worth their brain power so that they can repurpose that time and do something more impactful. I think those are going to be the ones that are taking center stage. But I think it'll end up being a big chunk of the workforce that is probably a little bit of a phony situation. And the CPA brand, well, yes, now it says, okay, accounting, but I think in the future, it'll be even more valuable because it'll communicate this guy's the real deal. He walked into a Prometric Center 4 times, passed all these exams. You can't use AI on those exams. So at least I know this person's the real deal. I don't know if a college degree communicates that anymore, to be quite honest. So, uh, man, I don't know. Maybe I hit
I
20
love it.
predictions there. I would
No,
love to
no,
see
I
what you
mean,
think.
well, I have a lot of thoughts, but you communicated it very clearly, especially in terms of more specifically the general gap, generational gap that we experience. I mean, there's a historical partner compensation model that is a bit of a cream rises model, and more work gets pushed down, 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 and nothing against anyone, but I understand where those incentive structures go. That's at the firms. And yeah, I think you're right. It's the famous Hemingway quote, how do you go bankrupt? Gradually, then quickly. It's like we're living in a moment where we feel like things are gradually changing, and at some point they will quickly change. That doesn't mean that it's like a trap door that we all fall through. It just means that we need to start moving our skills towards where that, change is going to be headed. I love what you said about the CPA. Just we'll wrap up here in a minute, but like a quick just note to maybe end on. We've gotten a lot of calls from accounting professors lately at Trullion, right? Like, how like companies can request a demo? Well, they're requesting
Mm-hmm.
demos, which I've never
Wow.
seen. And they're starting to talk to us and they're saying, look, we've got a curriculum challenge. Like we are hearing from our friends in the law school and in the business school, that like everything's changing in their industries and they're getting feedback from these law firms or alumni, but like we're going back to the accounting industry, which is it's Big Four centric. And we feel like we're not getting the stuff that can equip our students for the next generation. And that's really flattering
Wow.
and exciting to me, because like I'm the tech entrepreneur, and we don't get to do a lot of feel good stuff. And I wanted to be a teacher. That I was a teacher for a year, an English teacher. And I just think that's kind of a cool contribution, where the innovation is not just for the money or the seed or the ABC. It's like, no, we're going to try to innovate and help the industry, and maybe give some feedback back to the students. Yeah, so maybe I'll kind of end on that. That's an interesting one. But look, I know,
Wow,
Mike,
that's cool.
we're coming up on the end of the hour. Just, I don't know, one line of advice or inspiration for the group here as we wrap up. Give it to me.
All right. Along the same lines that we've talked about too, like in this whole conversation, but I do feel like we should start addressing this skills gap. Yes, I think Isaac will go get the education system in line, right? That may take time. Firms can do training, but maybe they won't. You mentioned people talk about upskilling, but they're not really pinpointing on what to do. I do encourage everybody to realize the accountant skills that you had in the past are not going to make you a successful accountant in the future. I'm getting a glimpse of that now working with a company that is very on the forefront of AI, and I can see that. And I encourage everybody to think about, how can they change and not only adapt and be, a big user of these AI tools, but also think about where you can excel, where AI maybe struggles, and lean into those like human
Love
skills.
it.
I definitely think that my favorite one is embracing creativity a little more in accounting. And you see this with podcasts. That's kind of why I do some of the drawings. The last World Economic Forum study came out, and they said the two top skills for the future of the business profession, one was analytical thinkers. Everyone in accounting should say yes to that because we already locked that in. The second one was creative thinking. And not a lot of people associate accounting with creativity. And I think that's going to be a big one. So I would just say embrace some of these new skills that you think are going to be more relevant in the future. It's not only going to make you a better professional and future proof your career, it's going to make the profession more exciting. And maybe some of the people that are turning their back on accounting because they think it's so boring and this and that, they're going to start to see, wow, there's cool things happening in the accounting space, like what Trullion is doing. And this firm is creative and this, and everybody's talking about innovation because they are. And I think if we start leaning into that innovation, bottoms up, right now, I think a lot of it is coming tops down. We got to innovate. We got to innovate. You need creative thinkers to innovate, right? To do something new. So embrace that side of it. And I think it'll transform the profession, and it'll also future-proof everybody's career. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Amazing.
I definitely think things are on the up and up regardless of what you read, and I think you're a big part of that too, Isaac. So I'm incredibly happy we got to chat about some of this stuff today.
Totally. Mike, we had some fun. It was fun.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you for coming on. Mike Manalac, Mike from accounting, and maybe I'll see you in Vegas next year or somewhere around.
I like it. I like it. Maybe before then, that'd be even better.
Definitely, that'd be great. Good to see you, Mike. Thanks everyone for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.